guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to run an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy. He's 58 years old. He is an airline pilot. He's been married for 30 years, few kids and all that. And over the years, there's been obviously ups and downs as any marriage is. But for a while now, it's just been getting really bad. And this guy is pretty much done. And he's looking for my advice and your advice about the whole situation. And why is he done? Because his wife has lost it. She's had her issues, and a big major one for a long time, but recently it's gotten so bad, and now she doesn't want to divorce him, but she wants to separate but have him still pay for things. And so he's looking for guidance here. So I'm going to go over his story here, and you're going to hear more about his history with her issues, her family, and all that. And we can, at the end, both myself and you guys can chime in to help a brother out. So he says here, Dear SSM, my name is John, and I'm 58 years old, and my wife is 55. My wife Sharon and I have been married for 30 years. Mostly happy, but we have had some tough times throughout the years. I don't think anybody can be married for 30 years and not have some tough times, but there's a definition of tough. If tough means her creating problems all the time, then that's different than just struggles that can happen with children and family and jobs and, we have 3 sons. 2 now are in their mid-20s, and 1 is 19 years old. The older sons live in different trailers on our property, only paying us for the utilities. Our youngest son is in college and home during breaks throughout the year. Well, that's nice to let the boys live on the property in their own private spaces and just pay utilities. My wife, okay, I gotta watch what I say here because there was some bad things happened to his wife when she was young. My wife had a lot of bad things happen numerous times when she was young. It rhymes with grape. And amongst many other things, over a 4-year period from the age of 7. Oh my God, it's horrible. Her 2 older sisters also had those things happen during the same time by the same scumbag teenager who was doing that. He kept them all silent about all this by threatening to do bad things to her entire family, and which he brandished in front of them. About 12 years ago, the perpetrator was brought to trial by one of my sister-in-laws, and during that trial, my wife ended up having to testify against him. The jury found him guilty, and the judge sentenced him to 20 years in federal prison. 20 years? Now notice this happened, this happened when his wife was a little girl, and only after all these years this is coming about, because obviously they were too scared to say something. I wholeheartedly believe this happened. 20 years, that's all he get. He should be doing in life. He should be having other things happen that I can't mention. I'm sure you guys can figure that out. That's horrible. Your poor wife and daughters and her sisters. That seriously screws people up. But my wife also had a baby out of wedlock 33 years ago, obviously before we got together. She placed the baby boy for a closed adoption, but always wondered where he went and who adopted him. She told me about him 6 months after we had started dating. A little late, she should have told you a little earlier, but closed adoption and all, okay. That's actually good that she obviously realized she would be a bad mother. She had a lot of problems, and that boy could go to, hopefully, a loving family, Well, I've worked as an airline pilot for all of our marriage and always been faithful to my wife. Even though there have been opportunities along the way for me to cheat, but I always valued my vows to my wife and respected her. Well, that really says something about you, because as an commercial airline pilot, you're always traveling. And there's certainly a stereotype about flight attendants, as I'm sure you're more than aware. You're in different cities, different hotels. You really could have, if you wanted to. My wife convinced me to let my sister-in-law and her 3 teenage kids stay with us for a year so she could get away from her heroin-addicted husband. Okay, here we go. Obviously, this is a sister who, when she was young as well, had all those horrible things happen. Any surprise, she's a drug addict. He's a drug addict. But this was a total disaster. It turned out my sister-in-law is also a drug addict and a liar. Well, those two go hand in hand. Who stole prescription meds from my wife and youngest son. We finally made them all move out after the year, but it created a lot of stress and damage in our lives and our marriage. Well, as the saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished. My wife's adoptee son the son that she gave away 33 years ago, Tom used 23andMe and discovered who my father-in-law was. Then he found my wife and contacted her. How about that after all these years? This made my wife very happy, but she soon discovered the family that adopted him were extreme leftist liberals and atheists, among other things. Well, there's nothing she could have done to, you know what I mean? So, of course, her values didn't coincide with his at all. I made the mistake of trying to contact him several times, but he has never once responded. He considers me a wait-for-it racist bigot and has no idea why my wife is even with me. Okay, where does he get that from? Seriously, unless you said or did something, or I don't know what, which I'm guessing you didn't. You know, how can I put this in a way? I don't get into politics here, but I will talk about various things. It's been my experience, and maybe some of your experience as well, that people that are on, as he described, the far left, extreme far left, tend to look for anything that they would consider to be offensive anywhere they can find it, just to point that out and feel justified and all that, whether something is sexist or ageist or misogynistic or racist, whatever, and they're going to find anything. They're like a bunch of PC principals from South Park, and it sounds like he's one of those. Oh, how fun. Anyway, this created conflict in our marriage because my wife wants a relationship with him, but cannot have that because of me. My wife also got upset with me for contacting Tom as well. Well, you probably should have stayed out of it, but you're probably contacting him to try to help things with her, you know? I mean, he's obviously in his 30s, so he can obviously, the whole closed adoption thing's over with now. My wife was very close to her parents. Her father died at the beginning of COVID, and her mother just passed away this past December. Since then, my wife has struggled with severe depression and spends most days lying in our bed and doom scrolling on her phone and playing games on her phone. Well, I'm sorry to hear about her parents, you know, but she's in her 50s. They're going to go. You know, and now that she's probably having a real looking at her whole life and saying, oh my God, I'm in my 50s and my number could be up any time, and looking at the big picture. And she's depressed. Well, depression's tough. You don't want to get out of bed, but you got to do it. And as a husband, a good husband, you help out when you can, but then there's also tough love. Well, I've had to assume most of the chores around the house, even bringing breakfast to my wife in bed, doing all the laundry, cooking, cleaning, mowing our property, feeding all the animals, and generally trying to run a household when I'm at home. With my job, I'm gone about half the month on the road, and my older sons don't do much to help out with any of this. Well, smack to the sons. If they're living on your property in trailers, I'm guessing you own, and just pay the utilities, they can get off their asses and come help out in the house and help out their mom who's going through a very hard time. That ain't cool. I'd be laying down the law immediately about that. Now, I got no problem you taking care of things in the beginning. You're doing way too much. Okay, I got no problem in the beginning for like a week. You know, after the funeral and all that, and she's depressed, doesn't want to get out of bed, you're handling things. But after a week, that's getting excessive. That's taking advantage. She has to get out of bed. She's a grown-ass adult. Help out. Take care of things. Life goes on. I get she's hurting. And get some professional help if that's really that bad. You know, so I'm fine with you doing that for a week, but beyond that, no way. And your sons need to get out their fucking asses and help out. Well, we're not done yet. After her mom died, my brother-in-law told all the siblings, including my wife, no one was allowed to take anything out of their mother's house. Everything would be fairly distributed to all the siblings, according to him. Why does he have a say? I'm assuming that her parents didn't have a will, and therefore Big Brother is saying who gets what. This is why you get a will, guys, or put your stuff in a trust. My wife has 12 brothers and sisters. They are a huge Irish Catholic family. My wife took a complete set of fine sterling silverware that my in-laws had purchased when they were first married. My wife has also been a hoarder most of our marriage. Okay, here we go with the real crazy. But after she testified against her childhood abuser, the hoarding has gotten much worse. I've reached a point where I'm sick of it, especially since this past month we've had a severe flea infestation that cannot be resolved because the house cannot be adequately cleaned every day. It's one thing if she's a pack rat and just won't get rid of stuff she buys. It's another thing where, like, I'm sure some of you guys have seen scenes or pictures from those shows like Hoarders, where literally every room is just jam-packed full of crap. I don't know if it's that bad yet, but it sounds like it's that bad. Unacceptable. That's nuts. It's not fair for you to live like that. A couple weeks ago, I was trying to clean our bedroom of the piles and piles of clothes and the rest of the crap that is all over the floor. I made the mistake of finding her parents' sterling silverware on the floor and removing it from a cloth bag that it was in and putting it in our kitchen. Oh, you're the devil for, God forbid, moving all the shit off the floor and relocating it. About a week later, my wife discovered the silverware there and freaked out. She was livid that I had disrespected her stuff and put it in a regular silverware drawer. I apologized, smack, no you shouldn't have, and said I didn't know what it was. She said I must be either an idiot or have done it purposely. I said I was neither, that I just made a mistake. Smack, you shouldn't be apologizing. She's leaving your house in a big giant fucking mess, and you're moving shit as you have every right to. Sounds like fucking NASCAR behind you there. Honest to God. I hate douchebags that have in their muffler that it sounds like firecrackers when they drive. You know what I'm talking about here? What I wouldn't give for Harry Potter's invisibility cloak and a baseball bat. I'd find their cars in the parking lot and smash the shit out of it. Seriously, I hope my state they'll make it illegal. The muffler thing, the firecrackers. Pet peeve, guys, drives me crazy. And if you have that, yeah, I'm serious. Anyway, where was I? She's nuts. And you have a right to move stuff and clean things up and all that. And she needs to stop being a fucking slob and get help with the hoarding thing. But you allowed her to be a hoarder all those years, and these things usually get worse and worse over time. And you're the bad guy here? Let's see here. This brings up this past week. I reached a breaking point and sat down in the bed to tell her all the stuff I'm doing and how I feel these chores were becoming quite a burden and overwhelming, as you've a right to do. I said I needed some help. All my wife heard was that I thought she was a burden. Of course, turn around on you, make you out to be the bad guy here. The guy that supported her all these years. She yelled at me and told me that she was done with our marriage and wanted a divorce. I'd be like, okay, great, you crazy nut job. Since then, it's been an ongoing argument, even though I had to leave on a trip the very next day. I've only spoken to her once in 6 days for about 20 minutes, which did not go well. So she's made up her mind to blame me for everything's wrong in the world. She has no control over her parents dying and other things, but this is the one thing she can have control over, and she's going to lash it out on you and get rid of you. My wife has also started seeing a therapist twice a week for the past month. Well, that's good so long as the therapist isn't putting ideas in her head and making it worse. She says the therapist doesn't give her any ideas, but only offers advice. She has also seen a psychiatrist for a few years who prescribes different medications for her. Well, clearly she's on the wrong fucking meds, or she's not taking her meds. I don't know. Lately, I'm at my wit's end. I've always been the provider for our family, and my wife has only worked part-times for a few years of our marriage. Here we go. She now wants to move into a third trailer we own on the property, get a part-time job, and have nothing to do with me. She doesn't want a divorce because of religious reasons, but wants a permanent separation. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. She doesn't want a divorce because that means that it'll be a wholly different ball game in terms of things. As long as she stays married to you living on the property, you'll maintain the property, you'll take care of things. That's what's really... It's not about the religion. I don't buy that for a second. I have almost come to the conclusion to just let her move out and clean the house and shop out, work on my Corvette, and enjoy life without being yelled at. Smack! Well, change your mind on that, because there's no way. She'll be back in the house when it gets inconvenient in the trailer, or she'll try to put you in the trailer and have her in the house. No, because she'll fill that trailer full of crap. This all seems hypocritical of her because my wife encouraged one of her girlfriends to reconcile with her cheating husband. This husband had cheated with many, many, many women over the decades of their marriage, but what I have done doesn't even merit the same grace. Of course, because she's a hypocrite. I don't know if this story is video worthy or not. I'm also not sure if you have any advice for this screwed up situation. I've been watching your channel for about a year and like the advice that you give. I really believe it's time for me to take my life back before I get too old to enjoy it. John. Well, John, I'm going to repeat what you just said. I believe it's time to take my life back before I get too old to enjoy it. I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm sure the brothers around the world agree with that too. Cut your losses. Get rid of her. Divorce her. She only wants to do separation because she wants to have the benefits still of you providing. and work part-time. Good luck. Do you really think she's going to move into another trailer you have on the property? You must have a big property, living in the country or something. And that's that. No way. She's going to want you out of the house because she needs more space to fill her crap up, and amongst many other things. Do you think she wants to be responsible financially for her? No. Now, I know, obviously, if you've been the sole provider for 30 years of your marriage, and she's only worked part-time on occasion, obviously, you're going to get a hit. Yeah, you're going to get hit. She's going to get half the shit, and obviously X amount of your retirement, and probably pension from the airline, and other things. And then, of course, alimony or whatever. She's going to do well. But is it really worth being with her and having to see her all the time? It's not going to be just you're never going to talk to her again. It's always going to be drama. You're going to be constantly reminded of her. She's going to be showing up, starting shit. And when things get too difficult, she'll be back, probably, bullshitting you. You said again, you want to, what were your words? I'm going to read it one more time because these are your words. I really believe it's time to take my life back before I get too old to enjoy it. Okay, take your life back. Go to a lawyer. Your lawyer will probably tell you you're fucked, financially at least. But you know what? It's amazing what guys can endure and live on. And I might add, not have to have a whole lot to make them happy. Frankly, your sons need to grow up. Okay, that's nice you've been letting them live on the property, just paying the utilities. They're not helping you out around the house, if I'm not mistaken. That ain't cool. It's time they venture off and get their own place. So if you get a divorce and she gets the house and the property, and maybe she'll let them live there so she can have company, whatever. But give her the chance to move on. You're 58 years old, man. Okay, you're not an old man yet, at least not in my opinion. But still, you're no spring chicken. Why spend the rest of your life with this drama and fucking bullshit? That's what I think. And her being a hoarder all those years, now it's one thing if she was a pack rat and had stuff in the basement or the garage or the attic, but when there's stuff piling all over the rooms and you can't walk through, that's fucked up, and that's not going to change. And I still see problems if she's living on the property. I think you'll be in the trailer, not her. Is that what you want? Obviously not. Talk to a lawyer, find out your options, that's what I think, and start your new life. And it means you leave the property and she gets it, start over someplace else. At the end of the day, you'll be fine. I mean, really, do you really need that much to be happy? Probably not. Most guys, it's amazing how little they need to be happy, while women always need more, generally, to be happy, and they're not happy. So, what's done is done with regards to the hoarding thing. You've really tried to help her, and this is how she's treating you after 30 freaking years. I don't care if she's mentally ill. And it's horrible what happened to her as a kid. Truly horrible, okay? And I don't fault her for that, or her sisters. And it does affect adulthood. But there's a point when you're an adult that you obviously got to know you got problems, that you seek help and do something about it. Not let that be to justify your poor behavior, and especially towards you, who've been supporting her all these years. I'm sure you're not perfect. Nobody is, but seriously. So, brother, that's what I think. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let our brother here know what you think. And any of you guys been in a situation like this before? Not like a hoarding thing, but where it's gotten to be too much, and here's the thing. For you guys that were older, that got divorced in your 50s or something like that, or 60s or more, and you realize, shit, I'm going to lose half my shit, let them know how it went. Were you able to obviously move on and live comfortably? Was it worth doing that? Believe me, those are the most important comments. Let him know. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.